I'll start this episode with a rather unusual artifact. Rumor has it that such iron chastity belts were worn during the late Middle Ages and the early Renaissance. Why do we call them rumors, you ask? Because even though such artifacts are displayed in British and German museums, their descriptions clearly state that the date of creation of this item is unknown. There's little reason to trust the tabloid literature of that era. The only somewhat credible written mention of chastity belts comes from the manuscript Bellefortis, published in 1405. Inside it is a sketch of a rather bulky-looking chastity belt. Logically speaking, using such iron underwear at the time, under medieval hygiene conditions, would have been absurd. It would have certainly led to urinary infections. That's why historians believe it was satire by the author rather than a real device. As for the museum exhibits, curators note that most medieval iron chastity belts are actually fakes, likely made in the 19th century for shock value. Most of them are marked as forgery. Later in this episode, you'll see even more mysterious, eerie, and unexplained artifacts. Stay tuned.
Now, let's travel to the heart of ancient Mexico, where the Aztecs created one of the most hauntingly unique artifacts in history, the moaning death whistles. These small, skull-shaped ceramic instruments were found in Aztec burial sites, and when blown, they produce an eerie, human-like scream, a sound that is said to resemble the final moments of a person's life. What makes these whistles so disturbing isn't just their chilling sound, but the purpose behind them. Some researchers believe these whistles were used in battle to frighten enemies, while others think they were meant to summon death gods or to guide the deceased into the afterlife. The fact that these death whistles are so realistic in sound raises further questions. Were they simply ceremonial, or did they serve a darker purpose? Some speculate that they were used in ritual sacrifices, believed to enhance the connection between the living and the spiritual realm. Others argue that they were crafted to ward off evil spirits, creating an intense auditory experience to protect the living from the forces of darkness. Whatever their original purpose, the moaning death whistles stand as a testament to the Aztecs' obsession with life, death, and the supernatural. While the purpose of these whistles is still debated, one thing is clear: their legacy lingers. The eerie sounds they produce still echo in our minds today, giving us a glimpse into a time when sound was not just heard, but believed to have the power to shape the fate of souls. Beneath the streets of Rome lies a macabre secret, the Capuchin Crypt. This eerie burial site is home to the remains of thousands of Capuchin monks, arranged in ways that are both unsettling and strangely beautiful. The bones of the deceased are meticulously arranged into decorations, with entire walls covered in skulls, femurs, and other skeletal remains. In some rooms, bone chandeliers hang from the ceilings, and even the floors are covered with human bones. While the crypt serves as a reminder of the Capuchin order's commitment to death, it also raises chilling questions about the monks' views on mortality and the afterlife. Was this arrangement meant to remind the living of their inevitable fate, or did it have a deeper, more spiritual purpose? Though the Capuchin Crypt is a deeply religious site, its dark and haunting aesthetics have led to widespread speculation about its true meaning. Was it simply a burial ground, or was it a place designed to initiate visitors into the contemplation of death and the fleeting nature of life? Some believe the arrangement of the bones is symbolic, pointing to the idea of resurrection and the promise of eternal life. Others suggest it was a form of penance or a meditation on the idea of death as a path to salvation. Whatever the true purpose of the crypt may be, one thing is certain: the Capuchin Crypt remains one of the most unsettling and thought-provoking places in all of Rome, a place where the line between life and death is blurred, and the living are reminded of their inevitable journey. In the misty mountains of Sagada, Philippines, you'll find one of the world's most eerie and mysterious burial practices: hanging coffins. These coffins, suspended high on the cliffs of the Cordillera Mountains, have fascinated both archaeologists and adventurers for centuries. The locals believe that this tradition links the deceased to the spirit world, giving them a direct path to the afterlife. But why hang coffins high on a cliffside instead of burying them in the ground? These eerie cliffside tombs are not just a testament to the ancient people's beliefs, but also to their craftsmanship. The coffins, some weighing hundreds of pounds, are carefully placed in naturally occurring niches along the cliff faces. The process involves ropes, pulleys, and a deep knowledge of the terrain, skills that have been passed down through generations. The fact that they've remained intact and unspoiled for centuries, despite weathering countless storms and even earthquakes, speaks volumes about the remarkable resilience and ingenuity of these ancient people. Though these hanging coffins have been studied for decades, many still don't fully understand the origins of the practice or its deeper meanings. Theories abound. Some suggest that it was part of a complex ritual to appease ancestral spirits, while others claim it was simply a way to protect the body from predators. Either way, the tradition is a chilling reminder that there's much more to this world than what we see, and the mysteries of the past continue to whisper to us from the mountains. Deep in the heart of Mali, the Dogon people practice ancient rituals that have long baffled outsiders, but none is more intriguing than the demon masks they use during ceremonies. These masks, carved from wood and adorned with intricate symbols, depict beings with large eyes, elongated heads, and sharp angular features. Some believe they represent ancestors, while others suggest they might be physical manifestations of spirits or supernatural forces. What makes these masks so mysterious is not just their haunting appearance, but the extraordinary precision with which they were created, features that don't seem to align with any known Dogon mythology or culture. One of the most startling aspects of the Dogon mask tradition is its connection to astronomy. The Dogon have a detailed understanding of the Sirius star system, particularly Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye. How did a relatively isolated African tribe possess such advanced knowledge, centuries before modern telescopes confirmed the existence of this star? Some argue that the masks are a reflection of this cosmic knowledge, representing beings from the stars, or even extraterrestrials who visited the Dogon long ago. Whether it's deep spiritual beliefs or a lost connection to the stars, the demon masks remain an open question that continues to fascinate anthropologists and conspiracy theorists alike. In the remote San Pedro Mountains of Wyoming, a discovery was made that would challenge everything we knew about human history. A 7-inch tall mummy, known as Pedro, was found in the 1930s, and its existence has perplexed scientists ever since. This tiny, fully formed body with a complete skeleton and features resembling a small human raises more questions than it answers. The mummified remains were unlike any known human species, leading to wild theories about the origins of this mysterious figure. Pedro's discovery in a region known for its archaeological richness only added fuel to the fire. Some believe the mummy represents a lost race of tiny people who once roamed North America, while others argue that it could be a human child who suffered from a rare medical condition. The most tantalizing theory, though, suggests that Pedro may not be human at all. Could this be proof of an extraterrestrial visit with beings not from this planet? For years the body was studied, analyzed, and even put on display, but despite numerous scientific efforts, no conclusive explanation has been found. What makes Pedro's remains even more baffling is the lack of similar discoveries. No other artifacts or skeletons of beings like him have ever been found in the region. This leads some to wonder if Pedro is truly an anomaly, or if there are more hidden away, waiting to be uncovered. The San Pedro Mountains mummy could hold the key to a deeper understanding of humanity's past, or possibly a clue to otherworldly visitors. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: Pedro's existence continues to intrigue and mystify. Tucked away in the vast desert of Nevada, something truly bizarre has been discovered: giant handprints. But these aren't the kind of prints you'd expect to see from an oversized human. No, these handprints are far larger and more mysterious. Scattered across rocky surfaces, these massive impressions stand over 2 feet tall, leading some to believe that they belong to an ancient, long-forgotten race of giants. But giants from what era? The handprints are found near Lovelock Cave, an area steeped in both mystery and local legend. Some Native American tribes speak of a race of red-haired giants who once roamed these lands, only to be hunted down and driven into extinction. Could these prints be their remnants? Some researchers speculate that these prints could belong to early human ancestors with gigantism, while others are not so sure. What if this discovery indicates something more fantastical? Perhaps evidence of a lost civilization, one far older and more advanced than we previously believed? The most compelling part of this discovery isn't just the size of the handprints, but their location. These marks are etched into stone, far from any known ancient settlements or structures, making it even more difficult to pinpoint their true origin. As these handprints remain one of the most puzzling discoveries in Nevada, one thing is for sure: they've left us with more questions than answers. Huska Castle, located in the Czech Republic, is infamous not only for its medieval history, but also for its dark and terrifying reputation. Built directly over a massive bottomless pit, the castle is thought by many to be a gateway to hell. Legends tell of prisoners who were thrown into this pit as part of a bizarre, secretive ritual. But it's not just the castle's history that's spine-chilling. Over the years, numerous investigators and explorers have reported eerie phenomena surrounding the pit and its proximity to the castle. Some claim to have seen ghostly figures lurking near the edges of the pit, with glowing eyes and outstretched arms, seemingly reaching out for escape. It's said that the prisoners thrown into the pit were never seen again, their souls forever trapped in the otherworldly darkness beneath the castle. What makes Huska Castle so chilling isn't just the ghosts that haunt its walls, but the idea that something far worse could be waiting down there, hidden in the dark recesses of the pit. Some paranormal investigators believe the castle was built to contain whatever evil or dark forces were unleashed from the pit. Despite being explored and documented for centuries, Huska Castle continues to draw those seeking answers, though it's clear that some answers might be too terrifying to uncover. In the heart of North Carolina, tucked away in the Smoky Mountains, lies an ancient and mysterious artifact, the Juticula Rock. This large soapstone boulder is covered in dozens of petroglyphs, some of which are so intricate and detailed that they seem to defy the time in which they were made. The carvings depict a variety of symbols, including what looks like a series of giant human handprints, strange geometric shapes, and faces that appear to belong to beings beyond our world. What's most curious, though, is the size of the handprints. Some are far larger than any known human hands, suggesting that the rock may not just be a historical site, but also a piece of something far more unexplainable. Local Cherokee legends speak of a giant named Juticula, said to have been a powerful figure with extraordinary abilities, capable of causing massive destruction with his bare hands. But could this giant actually have been a symbol of something otherworldly, possibly referencing extraterrestrial visitors? Some theorists suggest that the carvings could be the remnants of an ancient race of giants who once walked the earth. Or perhaps, they were created by an entirely different, unknown civilization. What makes Juticula Rock even more intriguing is that, despite extensive research, no one has been able to decode its true meaning. These petroglyphs may hold the key to understanding a long-lost culture, or they may be an enigmatic record of visitors from beyond our world. In the desolate altitudes of Bolivia, stretching across the rugged terrain near Mount Sajama, lies a network of ancient lines etched into the earth. These mysterious markings, known as the Sajama Lines, span over hundreds of miles and remain one of the most baffling archaeological discoveries of the Andean region. Unlike the famous Nazca Lines in Peru, these markings are less known, and their exact purpose is shrouded in mystery. What makes them particularly perplexing is their immense scale. These lines are not just simple drawings, but massive geometric patterns that extend far across the landscape, some so large that they are only visible from the sky. Theories abound about the purpose of the Sajama Lines. Some believe they were used for astronomical purposes, a way to track celestial bodies or align with specific star systems. Others suggest that the lines were part of an ancient ritual or a sacred pathway, perhaps used to guide the dead to the afterlife or to mark important pilgrimage routes. But what's truly mind-blowing is that the scale of these lines implies they were created with knowledge of geography and astronomy far beyond what was believed possible for such ancient cultures. The fact that the lines still stand, carved into the rocky surface after thousands of years, only adds to the feeling that they were built by a civilization whose understanding of the earth and the heavens was far more advanced than we give them credit for. Tucked away in the Valley of the Kings, in the shadow of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, a chilling discovery was made: the screaming mummies of Deir el-Bahari. These mummies, discovered in the 1880s, are unlike anything found in typical Egyptian burial sites. Their mouths are open in a scream as though frozen in a moment of fear, their faces contorted in terror. The mummies date back over 3,000 years, and while the exact cause of their dramatic expressions is still debated, many believe they are the remains of those who died under mysterious circumstances, possibly victims of a curse or ancient ritual sacrifice. What makes these mummies so unnerving isn't just their expressions, but the fact that they were found in an unmarked tomb, far from the grand resting places of the pharaohs. Were they criminals, prisoners, or perhaps individuals sacrificed to appease the gods. Some Egyptologists believe these mummies were deliberately positioned with their mouths agape to symbolically represent their souls being released. But there are also those who claim that these mummies were victims of a more sinister ritual, one designed to make sure they were never able to return from the afterlife. Theories about the screaming mummies also suggest that they could be connected to the well-known curse of the pharaohs, a mysterious force said to punish anyone who disturbs the tombs of ancient Egyptian rulers. Could these mummies have been connected to some larger, unexplained event, perhaps the result of a divine curse or ritual gone wrong? Whatever the case may be, these mummies remain a chilling testament to the strange and unsettling practices of ancient Egypt, a reminder that some secrets are better left undisturbed. In the ancient Mayan city of Palenque, deep within the jungles of Mexico, lies the tomb of a figure shrouded in mystery, the Red Queen. Discovered in 1994, this well-preserved sarcophagus contains the remains of a woman who was buried with elaborate artifacts including intricate jewelry, pottery, and items that suggest she was of royal or sacred status. But what makes the Red Queen so intriguing is not just her tomb, but the presence of red cinnabar, a mercury-based pigment coating her body. The Mayans believed cinnabar had magical properties, often associating it with the gods and the afterlife. But why was she so carefully prepared and so carefully adorned? Some speculate that she may have been a high priestess or a ruler of great significance. Others believe she was a sacrifice, her body prepared to ensure her passage into the afterlife. The mystery deepens when you consider the discovery of other similar burials in Palenque, but none quite as prominent as the Red Queen's. Could her burial have been tied to an event of monumental importance, such as a dynastic change or a supernatural occurrence? Some believe the use of cinnabar was not just ritualistic, but part of an ancient belief system that saw the afterlife as an extension of life on Earth, and the Queen was preparing to journey to a divine realm. What we do know for sure is that the Red Queen's tomb is a glimpse into a world where death and the afterlife were inextricably linked, and where the boundaries between the living and the spiritual world were not so clear-cut. The tomb remains one of the most fascinating discoveries in Mayan archaeology, leaving behind a chilling legacy that continues to haunt the modern world. In the dusty archives of the National Library of Sweden lies a manuscript so bizarre and haunting that it has earned the nickname the Devil's Bible, the Codex Gigas. This enormous tome, believed to have been created in the 13th century, contains a complete version of the Bible alongside magical spells, exorcisms, and other occult texts. But the most striking feature of the Codex Gigas is the full-page illustration of Satan himself, depicted in a demonic form with an unearthly grin sitting in the center of the page. According to legend, the book was created by a monk who made a pact with the devil to complete the work in a single night. Whether this is true or just a story, the eerie atmosphere surrounding the Codex Gigas is undeniable. What makes this book so strange is not just its contents, but the fact that it exists at all. The book is over 3 feet tall, weighing around 75 pounds and contains 310 pages of text and illustration. How such a massive tome was created by a single monk in such a short time remains a mystery. Some believe the book contains forbidden knowledge, while others argue that it was a work of religious devotion. What's even more chilling is that the Codex Gigas has been associated with various dark events in history. Some believe it holds a curse, while others suggest that its connection to the devil could have made it an object of fear and fascination. Regardless of its origins, the Codex Gigas remains one of the most unsettling books ever created, a reminder of the power of belief and the dark forces that have always been intertwined with human history. In the rolling hills of Wales there exists a mysterious artifact that has long been the subject of both wonder and fear, the bleeding chalice of Nanteos. This wooden cup, believed by some to be a relic of the Holy Grail, has a sinister reputation. It is said to bleed when touched by the living, and its appearance has been linked to strange otherworldly events throughout history. The chalice was once kept in the Nanteos mansion, and it was believed to hold the power to heal or harm anyone who came into contact with it. Some claim that when the chalice is touched, it oozes a dark substance, a phenomenon that has never been fully explained. The chalice's connection to the Grail adds another layer of intrigue. Could it truly be a piece of the legendary artifact said to have been used by Christ during the Last Supper? The chalice's blood-like bleeding may be an attempt to reflect the myth of Christ's sacrifice, but the eerie properties it possesses suggest that something much darker could be at play. Over the years, those who have come into contact with the chalice have reported unusual dreams, unsettling visions, and even physical ailments. Some have even said that the chalice exudes a strange, otherworldly energy. Is the bleeding chalice of Nanteos truly a relic of divine power, or is it a cursed object with a dark history? The mystery surrounding it continues to grow, leaving everyone who comes into its path with more questions than answers. Deep within the Mendip Hills in England lies Gough's Cave, a site that holds one of the most unsettling and mind-boggling secrets from prehistoric times. Inside, archaeologists uncovered evidence of cannibalism, not just as an isolated incident, but as part of a broader ritualistic practice. Human bones, some with cut marks and others showing signs of butchering, were found in layers, suggesting that the people who once inhabited these caves may have resorted to consuming their own kind. But what could have led to such a shocking practice? Researchers believe that cannibalism in Gough's Cave wasn't simply about survival, but part of a deeper cultural or spiritual ritual. The bones were carefully arranged in specific ways, indicating that the acts may have been symbolic, perhaps to honor the dead or harness spiritual power. What's most chilling is that the cannibalism could have occurred during a time of extreme hardship, such as a brutal winter or famine, but the ritualistic aspect suggests there was something more at play. The site also reveals that these early humans may have had a complex belief system tied to death and the afterlife, and their consumption of human flesh might have been a way to connect with the deceased. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, rises a structure that looks almost too purposeful to be random. Ziggurat's massive step pyramids built thousands of years ago, with foundations so solid they've survived the crush of time and conquest. The Great Ziggurat of Ur is the most famous, its layered tiers stretching toward the heavens. But what makes these structures truly fascinating isn't just their size or age, it's who they were built for. Ancient Sumerian texts talk about the Anunnaki, powerful beings who descended from the sky and ruled Earth. These weren't simple gods in robes and sandals, they were described as advanced, almost otherworldly figures. And the ziggurats? Some researchers believe they weren't just temples, they were literal landing platforms. Beacons for these sky beings to touch down safely on Earth. The construction techniques themselves are suspiciously sophisticated. The orientation, the materials, even the drainage systems, hint at knowledge far beyond what should have been available at the time. Ziggurats were built with such precision that their outlines are still visible from the sky today, like a message left behind for someone far above to see. Mainstream archaeology says these structures were places of worship. But why the obsession with reaching higher? Why the repeated references to gods who came from above? Watching old shows like Stargate SG-1, where ancient temples hide alien technology, suddenly doesn't seem so far-fetched. Maybe the Sumerians weren't just building to honor the heavens. Maybe they were building for beings who once traveled across them, and maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for a return. Just outside modern-day St. Louis, across the Mississippi River, lies a place that barely shows up in history books, but maybe it should. Cahokia was once the largest city north of Mexico, a thriving civilization with grand plazas, astronomical alignments, and giant earthen mounds that still baffle archaeologists. The biggest of them, Monk's Mound, covers 14 acres and rises nearly 100 feet high. Moving that much soil with simple hand tools and baskets sounds almost impossible, yet it happened, or at least that's what we're told. Some local legends whisper that the mounds weren't just ceremonial, they were built by, or for, giant beings. Skeletons measuring over 7 feet have allegedly been unearthed near Cahokia and throughout the Midwest, though official reports quickly dismissed them as myths or mistakes. Still, the sheer scale of the city and its mysterious collapse around 1400 AD keeps questions alive. Were these mounds meant to honor the skies or to mark the graves of beings much larger and stronger than we know today? Standing atop Monk's Mound today, the view stretches for miles. And you can't help but feel you're standing on something older and stranger than anyone ever admits. The feeling that maybe the land still remembers who really built it. At the bottom of the world, buried under endless ice and snow, a series of pyramid-shaped structures has set the internet and scientific communities buzzing. satellite images show distinct triangular peaks poking out of Antarctica's icy blanket, with some sides and angles almost too perfect to be natural. The most famous, located near the Ellsworth Mountains, looks so much like a classic pyramid that some have called it the Second Giza. Scientists officially say these are nunataks, rocky peaks poking through glaciers, shaped by millennia of wind and ice. But not everyone buys that simple explanation. The clean lines, the symmetrical faces, the way they seem to form geometric patterns, it feels less like erosion and more like construction. By whom? That's the real question. Some theories suggest remnants of a lost civilization, frozen in time before Antarctica turned to ice. Others go even deeper, proposing that ancient visitors from space used the frozen continent as a base, a hidden staging ground for activities far beyond human understanding. After all, Antarctica remains one of the least explored regions on Earth. If ancient explorers once built pyramids in Giza, Teotihuacan, and elsewhere, could it really be that impossible that an even older, more advanced group left their mark here too, waiting quietly under the ice for someone to notice? Off the coast of Italy, on the island of Sardinia, something incredible lay hidden for centuries. In the 1970s, farmers plowing their fields stumbled upon fragments of enormous stone statues. When archaeologists pieced them together, they revealed towering figures, warriors, archers, and boxers, each more than 7 feet tall. These became known as the Giants of Mons Prama. The statues date back nearly 3,000 years, but even today, they raise more questions than answers. Their proportions are unusual: broad shoulders, oversized eyes, and powerful, imposing builds. They don't quite match any known artistic style of the Mediterranean world. Some researchers suggest they depict real beings, not ordinary humans, but giants who may have once roamed Sardinia and left their mark on its culture. Adding to the mystery, scattered reports and leaked images over the years hint at the discovery of massive skeletal remains in remote parts of the world, sometimes resembling beings far larger than modern humans. While official explanations are often vague, the similarities are hard to ignore. Now, when we look at the Mons Prama giants, it's not just their size that stands out, it's the feeling they were carved to preserve the memory of something real, something extraordinary. Were these figures guardians, visitors from a forgotten era, or perhaps even echoes of beings whose origins lie far beyond what we understand today? High on the windswept Altiplano of Bolivia, near the ruins of Tiwanaku, stands the Gate of the Sun, a massive stone arch carved from a single block of andesite. It's around 9 feet tall and 13 feet wide, decorated with mysterious engravings that include a central figure often called the Weeping God, and dozens of strange winged creatures. Archaeologists date the site to around 1,500 years ago, but the precision and symbolism carved into the stone suggests something even older, and much harder to explain. The gate appears to have no real practical purpose. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's just there, standing alone like a forgotten doorway between worlds. Some researchers believe it was meant to be part of a larger complex, while others propose something much more thrilling, that it functioned as a kind of stargate, a portal used by ancient beings to travel between realms. The precision of the carvings, the cosmic symbols, and the legends of Tiwanaku all point towards something more advanced than simple tribal worship. There are even theories connecting the Gate of the Sun to lost civilizations like Atlantis, or to beings from distant stars. Local myths say Tiwanaku was built by giants in a single night. Maybe the gate wasn't meant for human passage at all, but for travelers not entirely of this earth. In an ancient quarry near Aswan, Egypt, lies a monument that could have changed history, if only it had been completed. The unfinished obelisk, still attached to the bedrock, stretches over 137 feet long and would have weighed nearly 1,200 tons. That's heavier than a fully loaded Boeing 747. Ancient builders had started carving it directly out of the granite, but cracks appeared, and the project was mysteriously abandoned. The questions pile up fast. How did they plan to lift such a colossal stone? How would they have transported it miles away to be erected upright? Even today, with modern cranes, it would be nearly impossible. The tools believed to have existed at the time, simple copper chisels and dolerite hammers, don't seem capable of producing the smooth surfaces and sharp cuts visible at the site. Some theories suggest the use of lost technologies, perhaps sound-based lifting techniques or unknown forms of energy. Others whisper that ancient Egypt had help from civilizations far older and more advanced than what is officially recognized. Standing beside the unfinished obelisk today feels like peering into a window where something extraordinary once happened, and then, for reasons unknown, stopped forever. Beneath the rolling landscapes of Cappadocia, Turkey, lies a hidden world, vast underground cities carved deep into volcanic rock. The most famous, Derinkuyu, stretches 18 stories underground and could house up to 20,000 people, along with livestock, food, and water supplies. Narrow corridors, heavy stone doors, air shafts. It's not a primitive hideout. It's a masterpiece of subterranean engineering. What could have driven people to live so far beneath the surface? Conventional explanations suggest they were hiding from invading armies, but the complexity and scale hint at a much greater threat. The tunnels are built to withstand far more than a simple siege. Thick stone doors could only be rolled into place from the inside, and labyrinthine designs seem intended to confuse and slow down intruders, or something even more dangerous. Some researchers propose a chilling idea: these cities weren't just protecting people from human enemies, they were shielding them from something much larger, much more powerful. The legends of sky beings, natural disasters, and wars between gods often surface in Cappadocian folklore. When walking the endless, twisting tunnels, the walls seem to whisper a simple but chilling question. What were they so desperate to escape from? And could it come back? Along the rugged coast of Northern Ireland lies one of the strangest landscapes on Earth, the Giant's Causeway. Thousands of interlocking basalt columns, mostly hexagonal, stretch into the sea like the broken remnants of an ancient road. Officially, this marvel was created around 50 million years ago by volcanic activity, but when you stand there looking at the perfect geometric shapes stretching across the shore, the volcanic story feels almost too neat. Some columns are over 40 feet tall, and the precision of their formation seems almost intentional. Local legends tell a different story, that the causeway was built by a giant named Fionn McCumhale, who needed a path to Scotland to face a rival. While the tale sounds like folklore, it hints at something deeper, a collective memory of beings far larger and more powerful than we are today. In recent years, some theorists have raised the idea that the Giant's Causeway might not be entirely natural. Could it be evidence of ancient terraforming, shaped either by a forgotten advanced civilization or by forces from beyond? Its sharp lines and regular patterns look like the kind of project meant to be seen from far above, maybe by eyes not entirely human. Standing on the columns, the ocean crashing nearby, you can't shake the feeling. Maybe nature had a little help here. Hidden beneath the small village of Xi'anbeikun in China lies one of the most baffling discoveries of the modern era. In the 1990s, locals drained ponds and uncovered massive man-made caves, 24 of them, carved with perfect symmetry and an attention to detail that modern machinery would struggle to match. No records, no legends, no historical documents even mention their construction. The caves plunge more than 100 feet deep, with flat ceilings, polished walls, and intricate chisel marks that run uniformly throughout. Engineers who have studied the caves estimate that tens of thousands of tons of rock would have had to be removed. Yet there's no debris, no spoil heaps. Where did all the stone go? How was it even possible? The Longyou caves don't look like rough shelters or basic storage spaces. They look engineered, designed with purpose. Some theorists suggest these underground structures were built by an unknown civilization, maybe even one that didn't think or work the way humans do. When you realize that these caves would have required coordinated labor, advanced planning, and engineering skills beyond anything known in ancient China, the mind starts to race. Were they hiding something underground? Or were they preparing for something they knew was coming, something that would make survival on the surface impossible? Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, divers discovered something in the 1980s that still sparks heated debate. Beneath the waves lies a massive stone structure. Terraces, sharp edges, flat walls, and what appears to be a grand staircase leading upward. Some say it's a natural formation, the result of underwater erosion. But when you see the almost perfectly straight lines and right angles, that explanation starts to feel thin. The monument stretches over 165 feet long and 65 feet wide, with towering platforms and pillars that seem far too orderly for nature alone. Some researchers believe it's the ruins of an ancient city that sank long before history even began, maybe 10,000 years ago when sea levels were much lower. Others suggest something even more fantastic, that the site wasn't built by ordinary humans at all. Local legends speak of an ancient kingdom swallowed by the sea, and when you glide past the submerged corridors and stairways, It's easy to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone built it, and that someone wasn't like us. Scattered across Easter Island are nearly 1,000 massive stone figures known as the moai. Some stand over 30 feet tall and weigh more than 80 tons. Carved from volcanic rock and transported miles from their quarry, they stare inland with an eerie, timeless gaze. How these giants were moved has puzzled researchers for decades. The islanders say they walked. That's not a metaphor. It's part of the oral history. The moai were said to move upright, guided by some unknown force. Recent experiments have shown that with ropes and a precise rhythm, small teams can rock a statue side to side and slowly move it forward. But these tests only work on smaller replicas, not on the full-size giants buried halfway in the ground. So the mystery remains. Were the moai simply a feat of human determination, or were they animated by something ancient, something lost? As they stand watch over an empty land, you can't help but feel that they weren't just built to be seen, they were meant to be remembered, or maybe reactivated. High in the hills of Asuka, Japan, stands a massive stone structure that has left experts baffled for decades. It's called the Masuda no Iwafun, which loosely translates to Rock Ship of Masuda, and it really does look like a giant ship carved entirely from a single block of granite. Weighing over 800 tons, the structure measures around 36 feet long, 26 feet wide, and 15 feet high. That's not just large, that's enormous. And here's the twist. It's not a ruin, it was never finished, yet it shows signs of precise, intentional carving that seems far beyond the capabilities of the time. No tools have ever been found at the site. No inscriptions, no evidence of what this was meant to be, just that rock standing there, silent and massive. Its flat top has 2 square holes carved deep into it, and no one knows why. There are no tombs nearby, no shrines, no temples, just this lonely, perfectly carved monolith, sitting on a slope like it was dropped from the sky. Some researchers think it was meant to be part of a tomb complex. Others say it might have had an astronomical purpose, but none of that really explains the size, the precision, or the fact that it was seemingly abandoned halfway through for no reason at all. Now here's where it gets even stranger. The surrounding area is filled with legends of sky beings and ancient visitors. People have long whispered that Asuka was once a place where heavenly ships landed. That would explain why the Masuda rock looks like a vessel. Some theorists believe it's not a tomb or a calendar, but a docking station, a landing pad for something that came from the stars. The resemblance to a spacecraft isn't subtle. In fact, if this were a prop in an episode of Ancient Aliens, no one would question it. And yet it's real. Standing in Japan, open to visitors, defying explanation, it's one of those places that gives you the feeling that maybe, just maybe, we're missing a chapter of our history books. Scattered across the jungles and fields of Costa Rica are hundreds of nearly perfect stone spheres. Some are small enough to hold in your hands. Others weigh over 15 tons and are almost 7 feet in diameter. The most unbelievable part? They're carved with extreme symmetry, many so perfectly round that modern engineers are still trying to figure out how ancient people could have achieved it, especially without metal tools. Discovered in the 1930s during a banana plantation clearing, the spheres were buried under centuries of soil, sitting there quietly as if waiting to be found, and no one knows exactly who made them. They're linked to the Dikis culture, but the real method of their creation is a mystery. The rock used, mostly granodiorite, had to be sourced and moved from miles away, then shaped, smoothed, and polished. With what, and for what? Some believe the spheres were used for astronomical alignment or religious rituals. But others point out the eerie similarity to planetary models. Spheres, aligned in patterns. Could they be markers, maps, signals to someone or something watching from above? They've been compared to the Death Star from Star Wars, but these are real. Heavy, silent, ancient, sitting in the middle of a rainforest. Was this geometry a coincidence, or were the builders working with knowledge, or tools, far ahead of their time? From polished spheres to sheer mass, we now head to Baalbek, Lebanon. In the ruins of this ancient city lies a construction that breaks every rule of human engineering. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek was built using some of the largest stones ever carved by man, or maybe by something else. Some blocks weigh over 1,200 tons. That's nearly twice the weight of the Statue of Liberty. And yet, they were precisely placed on top of one another, forming the foundation of a temple complex. To this day, we don't have machines powerful enough to lift those stones the way they were arranged. let alone drag them uphill from a quarry half a mile away. There are no cranes, no vehicles, no clear explanation. Ancient texts don't help. The people who built this left behind little to no documentation. That's led to theories, lots of them. Some say it was the work of a lost civilization that had access to advanced lifting tech. Others suggest help from something not of this earth. The block sits so perfectly, so seamlessly, that even with modern laser cutting we'd struggle to replicate it on this scale. And here's the twist. The Romans later built a temple on top of this platform. That means even they didn't know how the base was made. They just found it and built over it, like kids stacking blocks on an already finished toy. How did these stones get there? Who moved them? And what kind of power would it take to make that happen? The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. High atop Mount Nemrut in southeastern Turkey, at an elevation of over 7,000 feet, an ancient riddle sits in silence. Enormous stone heads, some as tall as 10 feet, lie scattered across a man-made terrace. They once crowned massive statues that portrayed gods, eagles, lions, and even a self-portrait of the king who ordered them, Antiochus Thirst. But what truly captures attention isn't just their size. It's the haunting feeling that these heads are far older, far more mysterious than history dares to admit. Nobody knows exactly how these colossal figures were transported up such steep terrain with the limited tools of the 1st century BC. No wheeled vehicles, no advanced pulleys, no cranes, just manpower, supposedly. Yet the precision and scale suggest something more. These heads weren't just built to impress mortals. They seem positioned for a cosmic audience, gazing skyward as if awaiting someone or something from the stars. Some theorists propose that Mount Nemrut was more than a royal tomb. They believe it was a beacon, a kind of cosmic marker, signaling to higher beings that Earthlings still remembered them. With its astronomical alignments and isolated location, it feels eerily like a landing site, a monumental greeting to travelers from beyond. Modern archaeologists explain the heads as simple political propaganda, maybe. But if that's true, why do they seem almost too grand, too massive, even for a king's ego? Standing before them, you can't help but wonder if these stone giants were meant to watch the skies for something bigger than human ambition.
Next, I'll tell you about cursed artifacts you'd better not even touch.
The Koh-i-Noor diamond is one of the largest and most famous diamonds in the world. Currently part of the British Crown Jewels, gleaming behind armored glass. But its beauty comes at a cost. Every man who has owned this gem has either fallen from power, lost his life, or met some violent fate. The curse? Only women are safe. This 105-carat stone was mined in India centuries ago. Over the years it passed through the hands of emperors, conquerors, and kings. The Mughal Empire, the Persian Shahs, Afghan warlords, Sikh Maharajas. Each time it changed hands, death or downfall followed. One ruler was assassinated, another was blinded. One entire dynasty collapsed shortly after claiming the diamond. Eventually it was taken by the British Empire after the colonization of Punjab, some say stolen. Since then, the male owners of the diamond have faced wars, political disasters, or early deaths. Perhaps that's why it now rests in the Queen Mother's crown and hasn't been worn by any reigning British king. Some call it tradition, others call it caution. Even Buckingham Palace has avoided placing it on a male monarch's head in recent generations. There's no denying the beauty of the Koh-i-Noor, but in all its glittering perfection, something lurks, something that punished anyone who dared claim it with pride. Whether it's karma, curse, or coincidence, the history speaks for itself. And now, we leave royalty behind and turn to a much simpler object, a wooden chest, handcrafted, passed down through generations, beautiful on the outside, but the number of bodies left behind? 18. Let's talk about the conjured chest. It started as a wedding gift in 1800s Kentucky, a beautifully crafted mahogany chest made for a young bride. She never got to use it. Just days after it arrived, she died suddenly. Tragic, but it didn't end there. Over the next 150 years, nearly every person who inherited or touched the chest met a mysterious and often untimely end. The total, 18 lives. The family began to notice the pattern. A cousin who stored blankets in it fell ill and never recovered. Others were struck down by heart attacks, illnesses, accidents. Some died within weeks of contact, others months. But the chest was the one thing all their stories had in common. Eventually, word spread that the chest had been cursed, possibly by an enslaved man who had been forced to build it. The family tried to keep the chest out of use, locking it away, hiding it in attics. But over the years it kept reappearing in homes. More deaths. more stories. Finally, the last descendant had enough. They donated it to the Kentucky Historical Society on one condition, that it never be opened again. Today, the chest is still there, behind glass, lid shut tight. In the dim light of a museum in Key West, Florida, sits a doll locked inside a glass box. His sailor suit is faded, his button eyes almost lifeless. But those who've met him say Robert the doll is anything but harmless. He may not move when you're looking, but people claim he watches, waits, and remembers. Robert isn't your average antique. He was a gift to a boy named Robert Eugene Otto back in the early 1900s. The moment the doll entered the house, strange things began. Gene would whisper to Robert late at night, and his parents swore they heard a second voice answering back. Then came the accidents. Rooms turned upside down, laughter in the darkness, and always, Gene blamed it on the doll. Robert did it. As Gene grew older, he kept Robert close, so close in fact that the doll had a chair at the dinner table in his own room. When Gene died, Robert stayed in the house, and that's when things got worse. Tenants reported footsteps when no one was home, objects flying across rooms, the doll's face changing expressions. One plumber swore he heard giggling right before his tools vanished. Today, Robert lives behind thick glass at the Fort East Martello Museum, but he's not just for show. Guests say if you take a photo without asking Robert's permission, bad luck follows. The museum keeps shelves of letters from visitors, some begging for forgiveness, others describing car crashes, lost jobs, and sudden illnesses, all after crossing the doll. Staff say the letters arrive weekly. Even skeptics get a chill. Some swear they've seen the doll blink. Others say he moved ever so slightly between glances. There's no confirmed proof Robert is haunted, but ask any local in Key West and they'll tell you he's no ordinary toy. And Robert isn't the only one. There's another doll, locked away behind glass, known far beyond museum walls. You've seen her in horror movies. Her story makes even Robert's look tame. Her name? Annabelle. And you'll hear the real story soon enough. But first, we've got even darker artifacts to uncover. Ones that don't just move on their own, some are said to bring death. In the 1980s, fire departments across the UK began noticing something strange. House after house was going up in flames, but in the ashes, one item almost always remained untouched, a painting of a young boy with tears in his eyes. Cheap, mass-produced prints of the crying boy were sold widely at the time, and many families bought them for their homes. What they didn't expect was a string of fires, and a chilling rumor that followed. Survivors reported that in each blaze the entire room would be reduced to blackened rubble, except for the painting, which often hung perfectly intact on the wall. No scorch marks, no signs of heat damage, just those haunting eyes staring out from the ruins. Firefighters were so spooked that some stations refused to enter homes if they saw the painting hanging inside. Newspapers picked up the story, and one major headline read, "Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy." Some believed the image trapped sadness and sorrow in the home. Others said the original artist had cursed the work after a personal tragedy. Theories swirled. Was the boy a real orphan who died in a fire? Was the painting coated with flame-retardant chemicals? Or was something darker at play? Whatever the truth, people began burning the paintings in public to rid themselves of the curse. To this day, many who owned the painting claim they faced misfortune, sickness, or strange accidents shortly after hanging it up. A few even say the painting fell off the wall repeatedly, always landing face up. Coincidence? Maybe. But ask anyone who's seen their house reduced to cinders while that same sad boy watched from the wall, and they might tell you otherwise. Deep blue, nearly flawless, and over 45 carats in weight, the Hope Diamond has passed through the hands of kings, socialites, and adventurers. And almost every one of them paid a terrible price. Today it sits in the Smithsonian, watched by millions behind armored glass. But its past is soaked in betrayal, madness, and sudden death. The legend says the diamond was plucked from the eye of a statue in India, cursed for the sacrilege. The first known owner was torn apart by wild animals. Another lost his fortune. One woman who wore it to a ball was later found dead in a violent accident. French King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette both possessed the stone, and we know what happened to them. The diamond went silent for a while, only to reappear decades later, surrounded by new tales of suicide, financial ruin, and disease. Even after it reached America, the strange coincidences didn't stop. Evelyn Walsh McLean, a rich socialite who owned the diamond in the early 1900s, wore it to parties and let her dog play with it. Over time, her son died in a car crash, her husband left her and went insane, and her daughter died of an overdose. When she passed away, the diamond was quietly donated to the Smithsonian, where staff now joke nervously about not touching it too often. It's easy to dismiss this all as superstition. But when so many tragedies cluster around one glittering stone, the story starts to feel heavier than just coincidence. Some say the curse is dormant now, locked behind glass. Others believe it's just waiting for the next fool who tries to own it. And speaking of unsettling ownership, there's one painting that terrified even internet shoppers. It was just an old painting listed on eBay, no big deal at first glance. A boy with empty eyes stands next to a life-size doll, behind them a window, and on that glass, countless disembodied hands pressing to break through. The painting was titled, "The Hands Resist Him." And it didn't take long for the internet to realize this wasn't just creepy, it was dangerous. The seller described strange events: footsteps at night, cold spots in the room, the painting falling off the wall repeatedly. Then they claimed the boy and the doll inside the painting moved on their own. Even worse, they said the boy would disappear from the canvas completely, and then return in a different pose the next morning. People who bought or even viewed the listing started sending messages. Some said they felt dizzy or nauseous. Others said their screens went black when they looked at the image for too long. One man said he saw the doll blink. Another had a computer crash permanently after leaving the photo open. After all the chaos, the painting was sold to a gallery in California, where it's still kept under controlled conditions. The staff there doesn't hang it in public, and they avoid talking about it too much. Some think it's all an internet myth that got out of hand. Others, especially those who saw the original eBay post in the early 2000s, still remember the unease in their gut after looking at the boy's face. And the name of the painting, that's what makes it worse. The Hands Resist Him, as if something is trying to come through the veil. And maybe, just maybe, it already has. Still, that was just a painting, harmless, right? But the next cursed object isn't trapped in a frame, it's trapped in a locked glass case protected with prayers, warning signs, and crosses. If you've seen The Conjuring or Annabelle, you might think you know the story. But the real Annabelle doll is no porcelain Hollywood prop. She's a soft, button-eyed Raggedy Ann, and for decades she's been locked away behind thick glass with a sign that reads, "Warning, positively do not open." That's not for dramatic effect, it's for survival. Annabelle first made headlines in the 1970s when a nursing student received her as a gift. It didn't take long before the strange events began. The doll would shift positions when no one was in the room, then she started appearing in other rooms entirely. Doors locked, windows closed. Messages were found scrawled on parchment paper asking for help. The girls swore they didn't own parchment, the writing in a child's hand. At first they thought it was the spirit of a little girl. A medium told them the spirit's name was Annabelle. They tried to be kind, even let her stay. That's when things turned violent. A male friend of the girls woke up with claw marks on his chest and swore he saw the doll try to strangle him in his sleep. That was when paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren got involved, and they were convinced this wasn't a child's spirit at all. It was something darker, something that wanted to use the doll as a vessel. They took Annabelle and sealed her in their occult museum, but even there she wasn't harmless. A priest who mocked her during a visit was later nearly killed in a car accident. Another man who banged on the glass case died hours later in a motorcycle crash. Visitors have collapsed near the case, felt hands on their shoulders, or heard whispering with no one around. Today, the museum is closed, but Annabelle remains in private storage, still under lock, cross, and key. Some believe she's waiting for her next chance to be released. Others say she's quiet because she got what she wanted, but Annabelle is just one name in a long line of haunted objects. There are mirrors that trap souls, chests that kill entire families, even ancient masks that bring more than just bad dreams. Stay tuned, we're only getting started. In a small English pub suspended high on a wall, there hangs an old wooden chair. It's not there for decoration. It's there so no one ever makes the mistake of sitting in it again. Locals call it Busby's stoop chair, and legend says anyone who rests in it will die shortly after. Not years later. Not eventually. Soon. Sometimes within hours. The story starts in the 1700s when a man named Thomas Busby murdered his father-in-law. Some say it happened right after an argument. Others say Busby did it in cold blood, seated in that very chair. As he was led to the gallows, he supposedly shouted a curse, that anyone who sat in his chair would suffer the same fate. At first people laughed it off. But by the 20th century, the deaths started piling up. During World War II, airmen who sat in the chair before missions often didn't return. In the 1970s, a delivery man sat in it during a quick break and crashed his truck just hours later. A roofer tried it out and died the same day in a fall. Eventually, the pub owner begged a local museum to take it away, but even they didn't take chances. The Thirsk Museum now keeps the chair bolted high on the wall, completely out of reach. No one touches it, and no one dares test the curse. Some say it's just old wood and bad luck, others think it's a magnet for something darker, something that doesn't forgive intruders. And if sitting can bring death, what about simply owning something? It was elegant, handcrafted from silver in 15th century Italy. The Bassano vase was supposed to be a symbol of love, gifted to a young bride on the night before her wedding. But before she could ever walk down the aisle, she was found lifeless, still clutching the vase. Her final words, according to legend, were a warning. Beware this vase. The vase disappeared from record for centuries, only to resurface in the 1980s when it was allegedly dug up by someone renovating an old home. That's when its reputation turned lethal. Every new owner reportedly died under unusual circumstances, some within days. Illness, sudden accidents, unexplained collapses. The pattern became impossible to ignore. The families who inherited the vase tried to give it away, sell it, or even throw it out, but each time, it returned. Eventually, someone boxed it up with a note. This vase brings death. Do not open. When it was handed to the police, they tried to donate it to museums. Every single one refused. Rumors suggest the vase is now hidden deep in a locked vault, buried away so no one can stumble across it again. No museum wants it on display, no collector wants it in their home, and no one has publicly admitted to possessing it since. But cursed items don't always need to be held or used. Sometimes all it takes is a reflection. At Myrtle's Plantation in Louisiana, a site already whispered to be one of the most haunted places in the country, there hangs an ornate mirror, framed in dark wood, its glass faded with age. To most, it looks like a beautiful antique, but those who know the story believe it holds the souls of the dead. The legend begins in the 1800s, when the Woodruff family died in the house under tragic circumstances. According to tradition, mirrors were supposed to be covered after a death to prevent the spirit from getting trapped. But this mirror was left uncovered. Ever since, visitors claim to have seen ghostly handprints on the glass. Prints that cannot be wiped off. Some see shadowy faces in the reflection. Others say they've captured images of figures standing behind them that weren't visible in the room, and a few guests have reported feeling watched, even followed, after looking into the mirror for too long. There are no tricks, no backlighting, no staged illusions. Just an old silent mirror in the sense that something is watching from the other side. The plantation runs tours today, but staff warn guests not to touch the glass. Not because of smudges, because something might touch back. In the heart of Xi'an, China, beneath layers of earth and stone, lies one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history, the Terracotta Army. Thousands of life-sized warriors stand silently in formation, guarding the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. They were uncovered in 1974 by local farmers digging a well, but what followed made some believe these statues weren't just guardians. They were a warning. Soon after the excavation began, strange misfortunes started piling up. The man who first found the army lost his land, his home, and died in poverty. Other members of the team were struck with terminal illnesses, financial ruin, or mysterious accidents. A few even claimed they were plagued by strange dreams and sudden, unexplained sickness. Locals whispered an old prophecy said to be carved near the emperor's inner tomb. Death will come on swift wings to he who disturbs this tomb. What's chilling is that the tomb's main chamber, the emperor's actual burial site, remains unopened to this day. Why? Because modern science detected mercury vapor levels around the tomb so high, entering it could be deadly. Ancient texts also described rivers of liquid mercury flowing through the chamber as part of a grand map of the empire. It wasn't just symbolic. It was likely designed to kill grave robbers, or anyone else foolish enough to enter. Despite all this, the army still draws millions of visitors. But those who've worked closely with the site rarely speak openly about the misfortunes they've faced. Is it all coincidence? The cost of fame? Or is the emperor's army still protecting him long after death? And if soldiers of clay can carry a curse, what happens when the curse is bound inside something even smaller? It looks harmless at first glance, just a small wooden wine cabinet, barely a foot tall. But open the doors, and the air seems to change. Cold, heavy, the kind of chill that doesn't come from temperature, but from something else. This is the D-Book box, an item so notorious that some owners refuse to keep it in the same building where they slept. The story begins in the early 2000s, when an antique shop owner named Kevin Mannis purchased the box at an estate sale. The seller had warned him it had belonged to a Holocaust survivor, and she insisted it never be opened. Naturally, he opened it. Inside were strange, almost ritualistic objects: a lock of hair, a wine goblet, dried rosebuds, and a small statue carved with Hebrew inscriptions. Afterward, Mannis began experiencing horrifying events. His lights would flicker, doors slammed by themselves. He smelled strange odors, rotting jasmine or sometimes ammonia. He began having nightmares of a demonic figure, and when he gave the box to his mother, she suffered a stroke the very same day. Terrified, he tried to give it away, but each new owner reported the same string of disturbing events: shadow figures, sleep paralysis, sudden illness, even violent hallucinations. The term D-Book comes from Jewish folklore. It describes a restless, malicious spirit that clings to the living, often to finish something it left incomplete. And many believe this box doesn't contain just energy, it contains one of those spirits. Eventually, the box was donated to a museum run by paranormal investigator Zach Bagans, who keeps it in a sealed, climate-controlled room. Even there, it's caused trouble. Visitors have fainted in front of it. Security footage reportedly shows the box shaking, even though no one touched it. And during one controlled session, a skeptic ended up in the hospital just hours after coming into contact with the cabinet. Some say it's all hype. Others, especially those who've held the box or seen it open, don't laugh at it anymore. Because when a box that small leaves a trail of panic that long, something inside wants out. In museums across the world displayed behind glass and admired by tourists lie carved wooden masks from New Zealand. Beautiful, intricate, and sacred. These Maori warrior masks are more than artifacts. According to Maori belief, they are living symbols of ancestors, and disturbing them may awaken something you do not want to meet. Traditionally used in ceremonies or mounted on meeting houses, these masks, especially those known as koruru, were said to carry the spirit or mana of the warrior they represented. When a warrior died, his essence didn't vanish. It was believed to settle into the carving, watching over the land and people. That sounds poetic until someone decides to move the mask far from home. Museum staff and collectors in Europe and the United States have reported eerie encounters: sudden illnesses, strange noises at night, feelings of being watched. One UK museum noted that women in particular seemed affected, reporting dizziness, nausea, and even unexplained fainting spells near the display. Later, researchers connected this to a Maori belief that pregnant women or menstruating women should not come into contact with sacred warrior artifacts. Doing so, the belief goes, risks offending the spirit and bringing misfortune. Some museums now place signs near the masks, gently warning visitors not to touch them. Others have tried to return masks or other sacred Maori items back to their tribal origins after facing a wave of unexplained issues. Whether it's culture, conscience, or something more, no one argues with the effect they seem to have. In 1955, actor James Dean bought a silver Porsche 550 Spider. Just days later, he died in it during a high-speed crash. But the story doesn't end there. The wrecked car was salvaged, and then the real curse began. Parts of the car were sold off. One went into another racer's vehicle. He crashed and died. Another buyer was seriously injured when his car spun out using one of Dean's tires. The body of the Spider itself was displayed for safety campaigns, but buildings caught fire around it, and people transporting it were injured in bizarre accidents. Eventually, the remains of the car vanished during shipment and have never been found. Some say the curse is still active. Others claim the car was too dangerous to keep whole. One thing's clear, even wrecked, the car left a trail of destruction. And remember, many of these cursed objects are still out there, hidden, displayed, or waiting to be disturbed. Good night. That's about it. Which artifact scared you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.